Hello guys, it's been like forever. What's going on? Today we are going to look at how to create something like this in Autodesk Maya. This can be very useful in product shot and things like that. How to create something, some few items, and display them and make use of them for your product shot, and so many other things for animations and video reels and so on and so forth. So we are going to look at how to do this in Maya without using any third-party plugin at all. So let's get into it. Over here in Maya application, I've already model and texture this iPad. So I'm going to take a few minutes to quickly give you a hint on how to model and texture this. Okay, so let's get started by inserting a cube. So we just go to create polygon cube. Alright, so we definitely want to work on the cube. So we go to the input value and increase the cube like this. Okay, so let's use our scale tool now to scale the cube. Scale it very small and move it all the way up. Okay, so we want to also scale this on x-axis so that we have the exact same size of this. Okay, so let's see if it's okay. You can see it's not really the exact same size. Okay, let's just adjust this a little bit and move it up. All right, so somewhere here is very close. Now what we are going to do is, because we need all these edges to be very nice and curvy, so what we need to do that is, if we press 3 right now, you can see it's curved but it's not so curvy as we want it to be. So let's just move on to subdivide this. We can go to mesh and say smooth, so you can see that's going to smooth it, and if we press 3, you can see the object is becoming more smoother. So I want to press G on my keyboard a couple of times. No, sorry, let's not subdivide it. What we are going to do is to use insert edge loop tool. That's pretty much an easier way to do it. We insert an edge loop here and also insert another one here. So let's insert one more here and insert one more somewhere here. Okay, so by the time we press 3, you can see we have a little bit of smoothness on the edge right here. So on this trim mode, what we can do is to select the edge by double clicking. So we can move that down until you can see started to see some curve over here. All right, so let's do that for this other side as well. So we'll move that up until we see some curve over to this place. So we'll press 1 to go back to this mode again. Another thing we want to do is, if you look here, we have some curves. Let's make sure we get those curves on this. So what we can do is to really extrude this inside. So we can select this and this and this and this, just a little bit of extrusion. So we go ahead and use polygon extrude tool. Okay, you can change the position of this, and before we extrude, we want to scale it in just a little bit like that. Maybe that's too much. Just want to tighten up that place. Then want to press G on the keyboard to repeat the last command. Then we can push this in. How far we are pushing this, you just want to be careful about that. You can see we can push that really out, but we just want to push it in just a tiny bit. Okay, so we go back to object mode. So you can see we have that. So by the time we press 3, we have that little nice curvature and bevel around the corner. So you can see this has started to take shape the way we want it to. Now for the buttons on the side, you can throw some edge loop here and extrude them in or out, or probably you can create another shape. Whichever one that is easier for you to use, you can make use of that. I believe you will figure that out, but let's assume you won't. So what you can do is to create a cube, then we move the cube up, then let's smooth the cube, okay, because we're gonna use this as our button. Then we squash it down. Just imagine how the button will look like. All right, then the button is going to be by the side, so let's move it over to this place. Press F to frame that area. Maybe this is the on button. I don't know. We can move this all the way up. Then we duplicate and scale the other one. You get the idea of how you can do this. So we scale this and move it. So I don't think you're gonna have issues, dealing with the buttons at all. So that's how you can get the buttons. Okay, now let's move on to the major thing today, which is texturing this and lighting it up to make it look like this, because that is what is more important. Now to do this, all I did, just like what we have here, is pretty much easy. I have these two images over here which I downloaded from the internet. You can also do so, which is this image as a reference, but I did not just use them as a reference, I also used them for the texturing. So what I did was to copy these two images to my source folder inside of my root directory. I hope you know what that means. If you don't, just refer back to my Maya for beginners, the introduction of project setup and so on. You'll be able to follow along on this channel. Okay, now let's quickly do this. Now the next thing you are going to do is to select this, come over to rendering and click on Blend as your shader. Then I also want to make sure I clear some histories here, so I'll just go to delete by type. History is gone. Now I want to go to the Blend color node and go to my file. Then from there I will look for image name and locate that iPad. Okay, this is the front, the back, so let's look for the front. Okay, this is the one I'm looking for. Now a lot of you might be thinking that, whoa, didn't you need, are you not gonna use Photoshop to manipulate some of the things before you bring it? Actually, you don't really need to use Photoshop to manipulate this before you use it as your texture. Okay, but even if you did use Photoshop, you still arrive at the same result. But whichever way, you can still get the job done. Okay, so by the time I apply this here, you can see this is the kind of problem most of you are going to face, and by the time you face this problem, you will be like, wow, what is going on? But you don't need to panic. So just select this image, come over to, make sure you're using polygons, then create UVs. Let's look at the options. Now we have different kind of projection here. Right now the default, the one I used last, was project on Z-axis. If I reset this to the default, you can see it's on X-axis. So by the time I say apply, it's going to try to project this based on the orientation of the gizmo. Now this is pretty much not bad for what I want, so I can work with this by scaling this node out like this, because all I need is for this to really cover this entire shape. So I don't really need the other one. So I'm going to scale this gradually on this axis until it covers like so. Then I'm also going to scale it up on this place. I think this is a little bit wider, so I'm going to move that in position. Okay, I so much believe that you are getting the idea of where I'm heading to with this. right now. So you can see mapping this was really easy for me. So the next thing to do is to go back to object mode. You can see we have that map on this place. Now the challenge is going to be the back side of the iPad. How are we going to get the back side? This seems a little bit bigger than this, but we can work with this. So let's quickly do the back side of this. Now the back side might be a little bit challenging, but that's what we are here to do. Let's get into it. Now I'm gonna select this and switch to face mode. I need to select the back side of all the face, so I might want to click on this place holding down my shift key, then also selecting this place as well. You might want to get this other place if you want. Okay, I think that's pretty much what we want. Now the next thing to do is to create another shader. You can use the same blink, but I think I'm gonna use the Fung. So just click on Fung, go to your color node, then go to file, image name. Now we are looking for the back, so I'm gonna tab a couple of times. You can see we have the back. Right now we need to select that same we need to make that same selection in order to create the UV. So for those of you who are not so used to Hypershade, this is where Hypershade will come in handy. So I'm gonna go to Windows, rendering, Hypershade. So on this place where we have the Hypershade, I think the last one I created was, so let's find out. The last one I created was Fung 1, so we can really get them by, you can see as I hover my mouse over to this place, I can see Fung 1. I can right click on it and say select object with material, so that will automatically make selection of that place that I have that material. So with that I can create my UV right now. Okay, planar. We are mapping this on Z as well, but we have a little bit of challenge after mapping this on Z. You can see it's opposite to each other, unlike this one. This is very much accurate. Now we need to correct this quickly. All you need to do is make sure this is selected, then come to the polyplane project 3 where you have the image scale, and make sure you are using a negative value on this image scale, so it's going to flip the material opposite of each other. That will pretty much solve the problem for us, right? So let's quickly scale this up like this and gradually fit it in. Although the texture is a little bit smaller than the model itself, but I believe when you are doing this on your own, you will know the right thing to do, and even do it better than this. Okay, all right, let's bring the camera down somewhere there. So that's where the camera is. I think we need to like adjust this a little bit so that it doesn't look distorted. You can see, guys, this is something that is okay. I need to adjust this a little bit. So we do some small scaling here to cover that place. Then I bring this down, scale it up, bring it down, not too down though, scale it up. Okay, so you can go on and on and on until you get it's the way you want it, but by the time you are done, if this is too big, you can still, you know, scale this a little bit. Oops, our tiny pits, which is the side, these two side, we can just texture that white quickly and leave it there for now. Now another thing we can do is to quickly parent both of them to the major iPad so that we can be moving all of them. So shift select the three of them, make sure the parent is selected at last, and press P on the keyboard. that will parent them. So if we scale this right now, we can really scale it, depending on how we want the iPad to be. You can see pretty much easy for you to model an iPad. Now let's get into the realistic aspect of it. Now that we are having to, I want to delete one, since you understand how to do this. Now the texturing aspect of it is very much important, because by the time we hit the render button, this is what you are going to see. It's not so spectacular like this one. Let's look at how to light this up and make it look more better. Okay, so let's just head over to Maya. Now the first thing you need to consider is you need to consider light, then you need to consider your ground. So let's quickly maybe make duplicate of this by pressing Ctrl D, and we want to flip this opposite. So we need to rotate this on y-axis minus 180 degrees on this place. Okay, then we need to take this inside, just like the way we have it, and put it at the back like so. Okay, so let's make one more copy. Oops, Ctrl D, so we can really rotate this one like this. I think 90 degrees will be fine for us. Can make this 90 degrees. All right, then we can move it closer. Okay, so let's bend these. I really want to hold down D on my keyboard and move the pivot point to this place, so that by the time I rotate this on Z, so I'm gonna have something like that. So it seems I'm having two now. It's not bad. Maybe we can do for two here. Okay, to really give it more depth. All right, now the next thing for us to do is to create something that will really hold this. Okay, let's go ahead and do that by inserting a very large sphere, polygon primitive sphere. Okay, so we just use the scale tool and scale this all the way up like this. So I want to scale it somewhere here is cool. Then I also want to squash it a little bit. I press straight to smooth it. I also want this place to be a little bit floor like, so I'm going to right click, select this very vertex, press B on the keyboard to activate soft select, and bring this like this. You can see the base is a little more, so this is going to serve as my virtual dome, so I can really move inside of it now. Okay, so let's lift it up somewhere there. Now we are inside the virtual dome. Okay, maybe we need to increase the size more. Okay, so we'll lift it up as well until we see those small phones. Okay, we can select all the phones, then move it up. We don't want it to be okay, so somewhere right there is okay. I'll lift this up, can bring this one down. Okay, so that's the view we are looking at. The virtual dome is really going to serve as a background for by the time we render this, and we also want to put this inside a layer in case we want to turn it on and off. Okay, so that will make things more easier for us. Now by the time we have this and click on the render button, you can see the result we are going to get is not bad though, but it shows that nothing is going on for now. We need to start lighting this and we need to start making it look better. The first thing to consider is image based light. Then let's get into it by going to our render settings here, or you can go to Windows, rendering, render settings. So any of those will work for you. Make sure you're using Mental Ray, then go to your indirect lighting and click image based lighting. Okay, Now by the time you click this image based lighting, you are going to see this doom here. Just make sure you navigate to the image name, and I have this nice HD RMI image, which is high density range images, that I downloaded. Now you can make use of this high density range image, which is the multi-area light. I downloaded it for free. I'll also put a link on the description box where you can download this yourself and use it for your own project. Okay, now I downloaded this for free, and it's pretty much okay. So I'm going to double click on it. You can see it's creating an image based light for us, having these two light pointing on this place, but it's too large. Now I'm going to scale it inside of the box. So let's scale it inside of the box like this. Make sure it's inside the sphere. So I'm also gonna move it up. I want it to be inside the sphere, and I want to squash it down just like the way the sphere is. So if I move inside, I'm having this image based light inside of this place. So I'll move it down a little bit. Okay, so that's pretty much okay for me. I only want to take advantage of the highlight coming out from the light source. So let's rotate that a little bit so that we have the light direction. Oops, I want to rotate it on Z, so we have the light direction coming from that place. Okay, by the time we do a test render of this to see how it look like on this place, let's render it. Okay, you can see we have some few difference, not much. Now if you want to tweak things, you can come over to the image based lighting and turn on something like emit light, but that's really gonna create a very big highlight from the image for us. So one thing you can do is for us to use the the normal natural light that comes with the application. So let's turn on lighting, use all light, everywhere goes dark, that. So we can start with our point light. So we insert a point light in the scene and move it up. So somewhere here is okay. I like using linear so that the light will actually have a decay rate, not really an infinite light. So let's use an intensity of 15. You can see we are having some result, a kind of. Now by the time we do a test render, this is what we are going to get. Alright, it's coming up. We can keep this image for comparison's sake. Then I want to duplicate this light. The more you duplicate a light, the more light you have in the scene. So I want to move it at the back like this. I also want to turn off the use ray trace shadow for the second light. I also want to turn that off for the first light as well. Then I want to duplicate again and move it by the corner here. Then one more at this place. So I'm having like 4 lights over to this. Okay, then I need one of the lights to cast shadow, so I'll just duplicate this one again, move it up because this is gonna be the one that will cast shadow. Okay, so I will just move it up to this point. Maybe I'll raise it up more, then turn on ray trace shadows for it. Okay, now everywhere is pretty much lit up. Let's render this and see how it look like. Alright, there we have it. You can see how it's looking now, but the problem I'm having here is compared to this is before, this is after, and I'm having too much of brightness over here, so I'm gonna fix that. Now one thing I want to do is to reduce the texture. I want to reduce the specular highlight of this. I also want to reduce the reflectivity. Then also I want to bump these lights down to 10 instead of 15, a kind of. So I'm gonna select them. You can turn on your panel layout for your outliner over here. So so that you can easily have access to those lights. Okay, so let's just reduce this by 10 by 10, this by 10. Okay, all right, this is 10. So let's render it now and see how this is gonna look. All right, I'm having some highlight, but they are not much compared to the previous ones. You can see here, this is pretty much blown out. So what I'm going to do is to reduce this, bring this down, move it by the side. Then this light in front, I want to move it out a little bit. Now don't forget the dome we have. Let's turn off this layer and rotate the dome, because this dome is also casting some highlight. So I want to change the rotation of this towards this area. Okay, then we can turn this back on. So let's go back and render this and see how it look like. This time around I want to turn on resolution gate just to see it. So by the time we render, all right, this is fantastic. So this is what I'm talking about. The next thing to do is to add a little bit of ambient to it, and to do that, guys, you are almost done. That is pretty much easy. We have a light here called an ambient light. Just throw it inside the scene and raise it up. Now one thing I will advise you is to bump the intensity of this to 0.1. okay, now we want to change the color and tint it a little bit towards this cool blue tint, you know, to give it a little bit of warmish blue like color. All right, now before we render this, I want to use the render settings from production. If you go to your render preset, production, oops, just go to preset, load preset, production. So I also want to make sure I use my HD so that we see how it look like. From common tabs, we'll go to HD 1080. okay, now this is gonna be fun by the time we render it. So let's hit on the render button. Now because this is HD, it's gonna really take a little bit of time, and coupled with the fact that we've added some. Okay, there we have it. This is the final version of your image. You know, I told you that this is really gonna be very much easier than you think. Now you can go ahead and save this out as JPEG, PNG, or whatever you want to save it. I have an iPad HD, so I'm gonna call this iPad HD 2. So I'm gonna save this, and I believe you've learned something today. There are a lot you can accomplish with this. You can do animation with it, you can make it flip around and jump up and down. Just practice and do things, and let me know the things you can accomplish with this, and also post back to me the things you were able to accomplish with this simple technique I've given you inside of this application. And guys, don't forget to subscribe for more tutorials coming on your way. Thanks for watching. See you soon.